Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How have you all been doing, everyone? Oh, already I can hear some fun times happening already, and already some excitement. Thank you for the subscription there, TK. Yes, so far we have returned to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast to know what else is going on in the wild world of animation and in the wild world of entertainment. And let me tell you, folks, even though we do have just a couple of stories that we are going to go and talk about, including one that I really want to go and discuss, which is probably the main course of this entire podcast or this entire episode. But at the same time, we also got a whole bunch of trailers that we are going to go and look into. A lot of interesting stuff and a lot of interesting stuff, if you know what I mean. All right, but anyways, we're not here to have a little bit of a chit chat. We are here to go and watch a show. So I would like to go into the chat wall and I want to ask you all, are you all prepared for today's episode? Oh boy, I even got interrupted. Well, thank you, King Cerulean. At least you answered the question early, but I still have to ask, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Now, let me hear it, folks. Are you ready? Oh, already I see people are prepared. That is great to see. Well, if we are all set up, if we are all prepared, well, then I guess it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with the first story that I have here, since I did say that we do have a whole bunch of trailers that we are going to look into, we might as well go and begin with at least one of them. And what I'm going to go and start off is going to be an upcoming animated feature coming from Netflix. Well, maybe not necessarily Netflix directly, but this is actually a pretty anticipated movie, especially when it's coming from quite a popular show, which, to be very honest, I'm not all that familiar with, which I will describe a little bit later. But still, though, I know there are plenty of people out there who are very hyped up for it. And I guess we will go and see what the hype is all about. So, with that said, let us now go and begin by looking into our first trailer, as we are gonna now go and watch Miraculous, Ladybug and Cat Noir, the movie.
Do you believe in magic?
And that is Miraculous, Ladybug and Cat Noir, the movie, to which the feature will be coming out exclusively on Netflix on July 28th. Now, one thing that I will admit is that, yes, I am not familiar with Miraculous, Ladybug and Cat Noir whatsoever. I mean, I am aware of it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I have seen any of the episodes before. Like, at the most, honestly, is that I saw that it was on TV while I was in my hotel in Walt Disney World. Like, when I would be in the cafeteria, they would have like various Disney channels on, and one of them coincidentally had Ladybug and Cat Noir on TV, because I do believe that it does pass on television on Disney Channel or Disney XD, or like Disney is the one that would go and distribute it on TV. So I will admit I am not familiar whatsoever with Ladybug and Cat Noir, but yeah, I would consider myself a bit of a newcomer. And when I see this trailer over here, I mean, I know that there are a lot of fans out there who are absolutely excited for this, since they are already major fans. And from what they are establishing here, this is like the major origin story, like really highlighting where everything began. Like, how is it that the characters end up becoming superheroes. How did they get their powers, or what are the origins of the powers? Like, it's pretty much to go and explain everything. So I will give it the benefit that in that regard, it looks like it could be welcoming to newcomers, that this could be a legitimate introduction to Miraculous, Ladybug, and Cat Noir. So maybe, like, if it does play its cards right, you don't necessarily have to be a major fan of the Miraculous series to already know like what is going on, or you know, what you want to go and expect. You know, it doesn't seem like it's gonna go and cater to just the Miraculous fans, even though like I'm just speaking like what it seems narratively, or at least that's what I'm hoping for. But I don't know, like it's still up in the air. But I will say, outside of that though, I mean, I don't hate it. It doesn't look terrible. And I will give it, like, probably the best thing that came out of it is the animation. Like, wow, this looks like super clean, crisp animation that they really did level up the technology to build the animation for this. Like, already a step up compared to the clips I've already seen of the Miraculous series. So already on that front, like, the animation does look here, let's just look back at it. The animation does look solid. Like, everything is very well rendered, very detailed, like a lot of like rich textures going on. The settings, they already promised to look massively big. In fact, like, one admirable shot is like right over here where you see Cat Noir right in front of the cathedral. Like, there's already some beautiful shots. And not to mention, like, you could sense that there is a lot of fun and creativity that might be promised. Like, there's at one point you see them fighting a mime, or yeah, like right over here, like this big giant tough mime, or a giant balloon monster rampaging what looks like France, yeah, like definitely France. I mean, from the architecture, yeah, like it's supposed to be set in France, but well, then again, I mean, they're in France, so of course they gotta fight a freaking mime. Like, they gotta go into the home of freaking Bon Voyage. But so yeah, like the animation, I gotta say, it looks like it's definitely gonna deliver. You know, you could sense that there is some creativity in there, so already visually it is promising. But the one catch, though, I will say, is that in terms of the narrative itself, while I do appreciate that they are going to go and do something that is based on like the origins of everything, where this is going to be like a full-on introduction to all the concepts and describe everything in one motion picture so that anyone, including newcomers, can understand what is going on around here. I will say, though, the story does feel a tad bit generic. Like, it looks like it's just going to be the typical superhero origin story, and that these kids are going to learn how to use their powers properly. And on top of that, you got another narrative where you got like these two rivals who are always bickering and always arguing with each other, but then they have to learn how to work together. And granted, I will say that is something that I am aware from the Miraculous series, that this is something that they do, that they always tease no matter what, and that is regarding the relationship between Ladybug and Cat Noir, where there might be a possibility that they could end up becoming lovers, which, I mean, it's kind of a familiar trope, you know, like the enemies becoming lovers and stuff like that. So, of course, they got to go and, like, deliver a little bit of that as well. So, honestly, I feel like narratively is something that I'm already way too familiar with, and it might go into those same steps that we already know, especially when it comes to superhero films. So that, and also another thing I want to mention is just the comedy, because it wants to, like, as it is more family friendly, it wants to provide some comedy so that you can have like a whole bunch of like funny moments. But I will say the comedy in here, it's you know, like, I'm not gonna say like the whole thing is like cringe or the comedy is terrible. It's just a lot of it, I just feel like it's just you know, that's what it is. For me, I find it meh. So from there, like here, you know what, let's just see like a few examples. Like at one point you see like when Cat Noir was like faced with the giant gargoyle behind him, like at this part over here.
To save the world.
You know, it's just like, you know, a lot of the, you know, it's just, there's so much in there that I feel like I've already seen it done so many times in many other animated features, especially in recent years. So it's like, honestly, it's not, for me, it's just that it's not necessarily delivering to me something that I haven't seen before, or that what they would do would be better than the others. So that's why for me, like, I'm not hating what I am seeing, and I'm not thinking that this is going to be like one of the worst animated features of the year. Like, I'm not like going to go and set myself up to say, oh, this thing is going to suck, I'm going to give it a bad review or whatever. No, it's just, honestly, like, there are some positive things that I can see, especially when it comes to the animation. It definitely, oh, excuse me. It definitely does look a lot of fun, but at the same time, I just look at this and I just feel like it's you know, it's not, I'm not saying is that it doesn't deliver me anything that's horrible, but it's not delivering me on stuff that I feel like is going to be memorable. And I think that's going to be the worst case scenario of the Ladybug and Cat Noir movie, is that it's just going to be a forgettable animated feature. I mean, I'm not expecting anything like what Netflix released last time with animation with Nimona. Like, I don't want to go in and like put in that kind of high standard, but it's just, I don't know if I could see anything in here that will really grip my attention or really say like, oh, I'm really going to remember this one. This is actually going to be amazing. No, it's just like, so much of it is just rehash from many other animated features from before, or at least that is from what I am seeing with this Ladybug and Cat Noir movie. I mean, I could totally be wrong, and maybe this is a case where maybe it's just the marketing isn't all that great, and what they are presenting here is nothing more but a typical kid-friendly superhero movie. I mean, that could be the case, and there may be a lot more to it, but I don't know, for me, as a newcomer of the Miraculous Ladybug and Cat Noir franchise, honestly, there's, like, I'm not fully convinced that this is going to be something that would really be worthwhile. So, I don't know, like, if this is going to be, like, if there's anything that's going to get me into the Ladybug and Cat Noir series, I don't think this movie may be it. Or at the very least, from what they are presenting us with this trailer. But if you are interested to go and check out the Miraculous Ladybug and Cat Noir movie, then keep in mind that it will be coming out on Netflix July 28th. And with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, what do you all think about the trailer of Miraculous? Are you guys excited to go and check it out? Are you guys a little bit iffy about it? Or especially if you are a Miraculous fan, I would like to know your thoughts on this. Okay, let's see. I've never seen Miraculous Ladybug, and looking at this trailer, yeah, I won't lie, I don't think this will convert me. The animation looks great, but the story seems like a pretty generic superhero origin story, and the jokes don't really hit. I won't be checking it out anytime soon, but I will say, it's great to see Bon Voyage and Balloon Man from Teen Titans Go, the movie, together at last. Yes, the one crossover that we all want, in France out of all places. Well, I mean, typical for Bon Voyage, because we have seen him in France before. I know you Ratatouille people have seen him in there, but yeah, at least you got that going for you. Okay, let's see now. So, I have no interest in seeing the show based on the writing my younger sister talks about. It sounds like an absolutely frustrating mess of a show of secret identities and will they, won't they, and the will they, won't they plotline. This movie seems fine. My younger sister says the movie is more of an AU rewrite of the show, but yeah, I'm with you. So yeah, my sister will have this as one of our movie nights, so that's fine. Yeah, I guess so. Oh, let's see. I'll be completely honest, I have not watched a single episode of Miraculous, Ladybug and Cat Noir, but I will admit that this trailer does look interesting. The action is fun, the animation got a massive upgrade compared to the show, and I can see how this could please fans of the show. So overall, this could be a fun time. Definitely, could be a possibility there. Let's see. Here's the basic info of Miraculous Ladybug. It was created by Thomas Astruc and Jeremy Zag. Produced by Sam G Animation and Toei Animation mainly, and broadcasted on TF1, Disney Channel, and RTS1 ever since 2015. First shown in South Korea on EBS, there are 5 seasons so far of 26 episodes each. Also, it was adapted into a musical in 2019 and a few video games and mangas. So basically, just to say that it's a popular franchise. Let's see what else we got here. I haven't seen the show like a lot of people here, but I can easily see why fans are really hyped for this. While the story doesn't seem that remarkable, the animation is really fresh. The animation looks like a ton of fun, as well as the characters do seem like a bit of fun. While it might not be for me, it will likely please the Miraculous Ladybug fans out there. All right. I'm wondering if there are there people who have seen the show. I want to know your thoughts, especially. Let's see if there are. I want to see if there is a comment from someone who has seen it. Anyways, okay, maybe not yet, but I'm not familiar when it comes to Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir, and for the looks of the film, it looks okay. It seems like a decent family-friendly superhero film where it has some nice animation, but not memorable for the story. I'm only surprised to see the actor that voices Cat Noir is the same person that did Eren Yeager and Inosuke in Attack on Titan and Demon Slayer for English dub, but that's it. Yeah, it could be fine. All right. Let's see. Oh, we do have someone who has seen the show. Okay, good. Let's see. As someone who has seen Miraculous Ladybug, I think this movie looks more interesting than the TV show, especially since the show gone downhill and the show's creator became more controversial. While the story might not seem that special, it should be fun. Oh boy, oh god, is there some controversy regarding Ladybug and Cat Noir, or like behind the scenes? Ooh boy, I don't know. It's I do want to know though, like what, like is it something that's really worth going into? I don't know. Oh my god, I see someone simping here. I see a simp. Did y'all see Ladybug's voice actress? She is mommy. That's an itch. Look up Christina V. All right, well, honestly, okay, you know what? I'll bite. Let's see, Christina V. Oh boy, I didn't expect people would be sipping. Oh my god, really? Oh wow. Okay, not gonna lie. Actually, no, she is definitely a beautiful woman. Oh wow. Okay, that's oh wow. Okay. Oh, I see what you mean now. I definitely do see. Oh boy, hey, what can I say? Sometimes the most beautiful people out there are voice actors and voice actresses. Okay. Wow, okay, that was a bit of a surprise right there. I mean, like, I didn't know if I would go as far and say, like, oh, she is mommy. But I mean, no, I don't deny. Like, wow, she definitely is a beautiful woman right there. Actually, well, since you guys didn't see, like, just to give you a good visual idea, there we go, Christina V. Just to at least give you an idea. Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, like, definitely an amazing looking woman. And I mean, based on her career, like, no denying that she is also massively talented, especially when it comes to voicing anime. So yeah, I mean, I'll just say I don't blame the guy, because she definitely is quite a beautiful woman. I mean, I know I keep repeating that, but anyways, though, if you are all interested in checking out the movie of Miraculous Ladybug and Cat Noir, then keep in mind that the film will be released on Netflix on July 28th. And now we are going to go on to our first break. And when we do return, this is the main reason why I wanted to have an episode this week. Because we are going to go and have a massive discussion, and we are going to go and clear everything because honestly, we need to go and answer the question, is Pixar really struggling? Is Pixar really in a massive crisis? Well, let's find out after our first break. You know, I gotta say that it's actually very funny to see the chat wall because during the break, I have seen how the simping has been spreading, that more and more people were really getting the hots for Christina V. And honestly, like, I could be simping for V as well, but then again, I do have a show to do, so I have to get my priorities straight. But anyways, we are not here to talk about her. Right now, what we are going to go and discuss about is going to be about Pixar. Now, there isn't necessarily any major news that actually did come out of Pixar, other than the fact that the box office of Elemental has actually been doing some good progress. In fact, during this weekend, Elemental has officially surpassed The Flash in terms of the domestic box office. So if you wanted to have some good news, there you go. But what I want to go and discuss is actually regarding a topic that has been more and more popular that people have been discussing about, and especially throughout the week, I have... Oh, excuse me. Throughout the week, I have seen some people bringing up this topic, and a variety of takes would go and spew out all across social media. So I feel like might as well go and have a proper full discussion right over here, and that is regarding the current state of Pixar. Now, chances are you have probably seen some posts or some articles or even some YouTube videos that are similar to this, where the main topic that people have been discussing about again and again is the fact that Pixar seems to be struggling, that people have been panicking of the fact that because Elemental and even last year's Lightyear did not do well at the box office, people are just freaking out that they are in danger, that that people would be using several different words to describe the current state of Pixar, that, like this article from Insider states here, that they are scrambling to win back its audience, or that they are in crisis, or that they are struggling, and all that kind of stuff. That people are panicking that Pixar can no longer make box office hits, and that they're dreading the future of Pixar, that there may be a possible near future that there may no longer be Pixar because it's no longer commercially viable and stuff like that. So we are seeing all this kind of mass hysteria that is going on in relation to Pixar. And honestly, this really is a case where the more that you look at it and the more that you actually go and think about what is currently happening with Pixar, I'm just going to go and say this right now. All of this is exaggeration. Like, this really is nothing more but sheer panic, and really nothing more but a cheap tactic from these journalists and YouTubers in order to get some quick clicks from reactionaries. And that's mainly that's mainly where you get the source of the panic. It's coming from reactionaries, like people who would think before they act, the kind of people who can only see just what's in front of their noses and never actually take the time to do their research and to actually see what's actually happening within Pixar. Are they really are in a problematic state right now? Now, I will go and state right now that yes, technically, they're not in great shape. You know, they have been better, but that does not necessarily mean that things are going bad at Pixar. They're not in a dire situation where they're in a scrambled mess. You know, Pixar is pretty much in a state where I guess you could say that, you know, they have a little bit of a fever, they got a tiny bit of a cold, but everyone else is kind of reacting as if Pixar somehow has cancer and they don't have much time to live. You know, that's always the big emergency that's somehow really going on. And let me just go and go note by note as to why is it that people would go and have like many different arguments thinking that way, but in reality, it's not. Like, number one, it's regarding the box office and how they've not been doing great, and that technically Pixar released their second movie in a row in which was not doing well at the box office. Like, technically it really started off with Lightyear, and then suddenly Elemental came out, and that one isn't necessarily doing so hot at the box office as well. Now, that is an argument that honestly I find to be absolutely ridiculous. And the thing that makes it so dumb is that there are many people out there who can only measure the success of a movie based on what they would do at the box office. Like, somehow the box office and the box office alone is the only measurement of the success of a movie and nothing else. Like, they wouldn't factor in any other aspect as to how a film would ultimately become popular, or what a movie would have in terms of having like a very strong legacy. It's only through the box office. And that's why there are people out there who would have these bad takes thinking that, oh, well, Pixar is doing horribly because they never had a box office hit since Toy Story 4 back in 2019. Well, technically that is true, but that doesn't mean that the movies that they released afterwards were bombs. I mean, take a look at Soul, Luca, and Turning Red. Yes, they were not released they were not released in theaters. They didn't necessarily have an official theatrical release. But that does not necessarily mean that they are a failure. In fact, they were major successes on Disney Plus, even some of the most popular during that year, where they would rank up like billions of minutes or hours being viewed. And even Turning Red was the second most popular movie that people would watch on streaming, right under Encanto. And even Soul, that was also another massive hit, and it would go on to win an Oscar for Best Animated Feature. And not to mention how it was highly praised, and many people would say that it is one of Pixar's best movies ever. Not in recent years, like one of the best overall. So honestly, in that regard, there isn't, just because they weren't out on the box office, they weren't released in theaters and they didn't make much money at the box office, or even like little to none, that doesn't mean that Pixar had failure, that doesn't mean that it's been years since Pixar actually had a hit, because they did have a hit with the ones that were actually released on Disney Plus. I mean, with that kind of mentality, it says, this is like the same mindset of people saying that The Mitchells vs. the Machines and Nimona were box office bombs, or they were absolute failures because they didn't make much money in the box office. It's that kind of like stupid and dumb mentality that people believe, that people are trying to push this narrative thinking that, oh, Disney is failing, Disney is not doing well, when in reality, they have been doing well because there are many other factors. In fact, let me give you another great example as to how Disney is actually doing pretty well, even with some of their other movies. Like, one film that I could say from this year actually made a lot of money is the Little Mermaid remake. Yes, I consider the Little Mermaid remake to be a massive hit. Now, I know technically true that if you do look at its box office alone, like, Disney would be at the point where they kind of broke even with The Little Mermaid. But the reason why I say that it is a massive hit and that Disney made tons of money on it is not because of the box office, but because of the merch. You have no idea how much merchandise that I have seen of The Little Mermaid. And I'm not necessarily talking about the Little Mermaid animated movie from 1989. I mean legit merchandise from the live action remake, like merchandise featuring the Halle Bailey version of Ariel. Like, it can legit be all over the place. And I've seen tons of people who would go and unironically purchase many of the clothing, the toys, all that kind of stuff. So I could guarantee you The Little Mermaid, yes, it is a massive hit. Maybe not necessarily through the box office, but through other means, absolutely. So honestly, the discussion about the box office doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. And I can guarantee you that with even with Elemental right now, technically, like, it is still performing better than most other films that came out this summer, especially with the fact that it has longevity. Yes, it didn't have a great opening. In fact, it didn't have a good opening, but the fact that it is still lasting long at the box office and even surpassing many other feature films that came after it or even came during, like right now, Elemental is already having more momentum than Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And that really is saying something. And I'm predicting that honestly, that momentum could legitimately continue all throughout the month of July, or at the very least, like it's gonna continue before TMNT Mutant Mayhem would go and come out. So honestly, this whole discussion about the box office is absolutely ridiculous because there are more ways that a movie can be successful. And Pixar has recently had success with Luca, with Soul, and with Turning Red. Which does bring me to my next discussion, and one argument that I honestly feel like it has really gone out of hand, and that is regarding Disney Plus. Because articles like this would go and mention that a big reason to blame to how Pixar is really struggling is because of how they would go and release some of their movies onto Disney Plus. That instead of releasing them in theaters, they've mistakenly put them onto Disney Plus during the pandemic, and now it is costing them dearly. Now, one thing I will say is that technically, yes, I do see how that argument may be true. Like, I could see where people are coming from with that, because there is actually a truth where because of the pandemic, people have been trained where if it's not a high priority to watch a movie in theaters, then they would just go and wait until the film would come out either digitally or on streaming. In fact, like, considering that Disney has done that practice, especially after Encanto, like that was a major one where technically that movie barely made much money at the box office. In fact, some people could say Encanto was a box office bomb, but then when that was released on Disney Plus a month later, then it became an absolute phenomenon. It became what is currently the latest animated success that Disney has. And in that regard, honestly, like, I can understand that, you know, I can understand why that could be at fault here. But the way people are reacting, honestly, that's where it really got out of hand, where people are now saying like, oh, Disney shouldn't have released it. You know, Disney shouldn't have done that whole Disney Plus strategy. They should have released it in theaters. I mean, are you forgetting that are you forgetting that there was a pandemic happening? And technically, some people could argue that we still have a pandemic right now. Like, COVID isn't really going anywhere. COVID is still a thing. So from there, like, honestly, like, let me ask you, like, if you didn't want to do like what Disney did with the Pixar movies, what else would you do? Like, you tell me, what would have been the other strategy? Just release them in theaters anyways? No. That would be it would literally be a death sentence. Like, honestly, like, not many people were really willing to go and watch movies in theaters, not to mention that there have been several places, and I definitely can speak as someone living in the province of Quebec, where they would just close cinemas during the pandemic, like no access to the movie theater whatsoever. So you can't really go and do that because putting out a movie in theaters wasn't necessarily a viable option, especially if you want to go and try to make a movie profitable. You just cannot really do that, especially at the time. And not to mention that Pixar wasn't the only one doing this kind of strategy. Like, you got companies such as DreamWorks and Warner Brothers, where they would go and release their movies just directly onto digital. Like, they would just immediately put them out at home, just like what they would do with Trolls World Tour and with Scoob. And then you would have Sony Animation, who literally did the exact same thing, where they released a bunch of their movies on Netflix, and they even skipped out Hotel Transylvania Transformania. They promised to put it out in theaters, but instead they decided to say nope, and they would go and release it onto Amazon instead. So, I mean, everybody was trying to go and adapt. So honestly, like, and I can imagine that if they would go and if they would go and actually put them out in theaters, then they would be box office flops regardless. It's the only viable way that they can go and actually keep business going. You know, they can't just like hold it on to the side. Like, I know some people could argue like, well, that's what, that's what Illumination did, like with Minions Rise of Gru, but not everyone can actually go and do that. And especially with Pixar, they had a whole bunch of movies that were prepared. Starting from 2020 and beyond, they would have they got Onward, they got Soul, they got Luca, they got Turning Red, they got Lightyear, and they were simultaneously working on all those movies. And they had to plan out to go and release them one at a time, or even like twice a year. So it wasn't really a viable option to go and put it out in theaters. So honestly, in that regard, I understand the circumstance about how that can be a factor as to why the Pixar movies and even the Disney animation movies can be, that can be a reason as to why they're not performing well at the box office. But that doesn't mean that we should be scolding Disney for doing what they did, because it is a pandemic. I mean, I understand it was not a fun time, but that doesn't mean we should pretend that it doesn't exist, Like, that is still a significant factor. Disney had to do what they had to do because they didn't really have that much of a choice. But then there is another argument that, oh my God, among all of them, this has to be the worst of them all. And this is honestly the worst take that people are saying in terms of the problems with Pixar right now. And that is the fact that they don't have great leadership right now. That they legit miss John Lasseter. And even this insider article says that one of the reasons is that, and reading from my source here, they blame a focus on Disney Plus during the pandemic and a lack of tough love at Pixar since Chief Creative Officer John Lasseter's exit. Oof, man. Like, this is a big oof. What the fridge do you mean by tough love? Because, this is either very poor choice of words, or they know exactly what they are doing, and that what they find that the sexual harassment that John Lasseter was doing was no problem whatsoever. And it gets even worse when you really go down into it. Like, when they go and describe, in this article, they would go and they would state the situation that where is it? Okay, yeah. Now, in this paragraph over here, they do bring up a good point that one reason why Elemental wasn't a major box office smash was because of the marketing, that it wasn't necessarily marketed all that great and just focused on the love aspect and the whole and the whole novelty of the city itself and how we have all these different elements living amongst each other and stuff like that. I will say, there could have been better ways that you could have advertised Elemental in order to make it more appealing. That is definitely true. But then there is this take over here. However, several industry sources and some within Pixar believe the slump at the company goes beyond the bad marketing of Elemental. They said Pixar's troubles are because of the loss of his longtime leader, John Lasseter, who had a reputation for never settling and demanding excellence. Are you freaking kidding, man? It's just, are you saying it's because, Pixar should have never fired John Lasseter? Are you out of your freaking mind, dude? Number one, are you forgetting the way that John Lasseter has been treating his employees? Are you forgetting the way that John Lasseter would go and especially treat women? Are you saying that should be excusable? Are you saying that should be okay? Like, are you, like, honestly, it's either you are so thick in the head that you are so smooth in the brain that you have either completely forgot that was a significant factor, or that you don't see any problem whatsoever with John Lasseter's actions, that you don't see it as anything wrong, that you are okay with what John Lasseter did, and that you yourself would want to do what John Lasseter would do in terms of his leadership. So already, that is massively questionable, that you're in a position that you really don't want to be in when you are defending John Lasseter that way. And on top of that, there's also one paragraph that I would say that they absolutely messed up, and that honestly is just completely dumb. It's like right over here where they said, Pixar sources said the studio's current CCO, sole director, Pete Docter, lacks that intense drive for a higher quality of work that Lasseter possesses. That didn't help Lightyear, said Pixar source regarding Docter's kinder and gentler leadership, which they said resulted in the lackluster blockbuster. I don't think John would have ever let Lightyear happen. Okay, already this is a bad take, and I would even go as far and say that this is objectively terrible. Like, just because someone is more, just because someone has a kinder and more gentler approach and is more empathetic towards their workers, that doesn't mean that they are inferior to the one that is tough. Like, honestly, I am starting to be sick and tired of seeing this entire mentality of nice guys finish last. No, that is not the case. And especially if that approach is not good, if you're saying that approach is not bad, then how is it that there are some movies in recent years from Pixar that they actually came out great? And in fact, I would even say that they came out with the Pixar standard of quality, like Soul or Luca or Turning Red. I mean, those movies are fantastic. I would say that they are on par with what the other Pixar films have done, and they would have Pete Docter's new approach. And again, they did turn out to be massive successes on Disney Plus. So honestly, that argument feels absolutely invalid right there. And also there is the other argument in terms of, oh, John would have never let Lightyear happen. I'm just going to say this. You know that John Lasseter literally did make Lightyear happen, right? Because one of the last things that he has actually done before he was kicked out of Disney entirely was that he actually greenlit Lightyear. Now, I know that John didn't necessarily, he didn't necessarily got involved with the entire production whatsoever, but he literally is the man who let Lightyear happen. So honestly, this is just very poor choice of words here. It's honestly, it's honestly stupid. Just to go and say that, like, well, he didn't let Lightyear happen. Yes, he did. He put on the okay to actually make Lightyear exist. And not to mention, here's another thing that I find completely dumb with this, and this honestly goes into the whole argument with the whole Pixar is struggling thing, is that you know that we've been having this discussion for many years, right? Like, this isn't anything new. This isn't anything that's just recently happening because of Lightyear or anything like that. Because we have been saying this ever since the 2010s. Maybe you remember back a decade ago when this has been a discussion that people have been saying again and again, that Pixar has been losing their touch. Pixar has been struggling. Oh, Pixar isn't what they used to be and all that kind of stuff. Where they would go and keep on complaining that the movies that they were releasing, they're not on par to what they were releasing in the 2010s. That they're not, that they weren't like major box office hits, or that they would go and release more sequels than they would original content. The fact that throughout the 2010s, Pixar put out more sequels than they actually did with original IPs like Coco, Inside Out, The Good Dinosaur, Brave, and what else was there? Brave, Inside Out, Good Dinosaur, Coco. Is that it? Oh, fudge, that may be it. Maybe I'm missing one, but but you do get what I mean. And also, like, going back into the box office, how the Pixar name is not always a guarantee to make money, of the fact that The Good Dinosaur became a massive box office bomb. So from there, like, we're all having those same discussions that we've had before. And I mean, those discussions during the 2010s, that was when John Lasseter was there. And I mean, I want to know, for those John Lasseter defenders, can you go and actually explain why is it that The Good Dinosaur became a box office bomb despite John Lasseter's leadership? Like, so, you know, the thing is, bringing back John Lasseter isn't, you know, it's not going to solve your problems. In fact, it may end up adding more issues. And honestly, there is one argument that I do want to say is the one thing that really, it's the true killer. The one thing why you should never bring back John Lasseter, and why John Lasseter is not the solution to go and save Pixar. Have y'all seen Luck? Have any of you actually seen that movie that they released on Apple TV Plus? The one that is supposed to be John Lasseter's great return? Because I can guarantee you, that movie is absolute crap. Now, granted, technically I would say that it's more mediocre at best, because it does supply great animation. The team at Skydance Animation actually did do a great job with the visuals. But then again, when it comes to the actual writing, that turned out to be a disaster. And yes, it is all John Lasseter's fault, where they took a very promising concept and then John came in and fired some people and really messed around with the story to make it more his image. And as a result, it turned out to be this massive failure that was desperately trying to be like Disney, but it wasn't. And honestly, and I'll even say that if you would go and release Luck onto theaters, it's a guaranteed box office bomb. I can for sure tell you that it would be an absolute flop. And even if you attach the Pixar name, it would make Pixar look even worse. So in that regard, there is literally no reason as to why you would want to go and bring John Lasseter back, or that it was no, it is not a mistake for Pixar or Disney to go and fire John Lasseter. It is an objectively terrible reason, and again, I still stand by that John Lasseter has no right to go and keep on working as a leader in the animation industry. That dude should honestly retire. And I have no faith and I have no hopes for that next movie they're putting out, Spellbound or whatever. Like, I know that they brought in Alan Menken to go and do the songs and stuff like that, but still though, from what I've seen based on Luck and the fact that they're still enabling the toxic leadership of John Lasseter, it's already a dead cause right over there. So honestly, I'm not even bothering to play with Spellbound and give it the hope that, oh, maybe it could turn out to be good. Like, no. But yeah, so overall, this is just to go and say that Pixar is in a much better position than what many people are thinking. That if you go and take a step back, and if you actually do, unlike what these people, like these article writers here, or any of those YouTubers trying to say that Pixar is in a crisis or whatever, in reality, Pixar is gonna be okay. Pixar is actually doing fine. And even though they are in a bit of a downtime, that doesn't mean that they cannot climb their way back up. There will, and I can guarantee you, there will be a moment where Pixar will suddenly find their popularity back, where they will suddenly find their groove back. It's just right now, we're just seeing reactionaries just panicking over nothing. Like, they got a serious bad case of Chicken Little syndrome, where an acorn fell on their head, and now they're just screaming, they're just screaming that the sky is falling. Now, I'm going to go and take a little bit of a break right now, but when I do return, I want to know what you all think. I want to pass the microphone on to you, and I want to ask, what do you think about the current state of Pixar? And do you think it's actually bad, or do you think that they're going to be okay? Let me know what you think after these messages. All right, we are back. So now that I have said my piece about what's going on with Pixar and that how they are actually doing better than what many people on the internet think, I want to ask the chat wall, what do you all think about Pixar's current state? Let's see what we got here. Well, let's see now. How apropos, a Pixar movie about fire and water that started out with dampened expectations is having a slow burn towards success. As someone who has seen Elemental 4 times, and I am planning to watch it non-stop on Disney+, this pleases me, especially because, like you said, the reactionary Disney haters are being proven wrong once again. I'm looking forward to Encanto Elemental being sorry, let me rephrase that. I'm looking forward to Elemental becoming Pixar's Encanto. Also, screw John Lasseter. I think people only like Luck because of waifu trash Sam Greenfield. I mean, like, yeah, like, technically she is an attractive character, but really, it's just her looks. I mean, already, I completely forgot about, like, the other aspects about Sam, honestly. Like, it is, like, the writing is such trash, and, like, whatever, like, if there are good things about it, I've already forgotten about it. I mean, it's a movie that's not even worth remembering anyways. And I mean, I can guarantee you that those John Lasseter defenders, like, 99.9% of those people have not seen Luck whatsoever. They have not seen the movie, and that if they have, then there's a good chance that they'll see it and like, oh, maybe it's not a great idea to bring him back to Pixar. Oh, never mind. Oh, let's see what we got here. In my opinion, I don't even trust I don't even trust John Lasseter anymore. Sure, he has made a lot of great films for Pixar and Disney Animation that were adored by people, but the way that he treats the female employees, that's his downfall. I trust Pete Docter on giving animators and filmmakers any creative freedom as long as they don't fall in the Disney's 2000s era. I mean, technically you could say that right now Pixar is kind of in their 2000s era, but with how we are seeing with Elemental and how we are seeing a bit of a, like, how Elemental is slowly but surely having a tiny bit of a comeback, there is a strong possibility that we could be the end of that dark time for Pixar, and that whatever they're going to come out later, like with Elio or Inside Out 2, we could see a little bit of a pick-me-up. We could see a little bit of a return that now things are going to go uphill for Pixar. And not to mention, I just want to go and quickly add that you cannot go and complain what Disney and Pixar is doing right now and want to bring back John Lasseter, considering that John Lasseter is the guy who is responsible for many of the things that people are complaining about Disney, especially when it comes to enabling sequels, like making both Disney Animation and Pixar to do a whole bunch of sequels, or have Disney Animation start to do sequels with Ralph Breaks the Internet and Frozen 2. Like, you cannot be a John Lasseter supporter and a hater of Ralph Breaks the Internet at the same time. I'm just saying. Let's see. While I have my doubts Elemental will reach Coco levels, it is doing really well. Something I attribute to good word of mouth. So in a way, I don't think Pixar is going anywhere. Also, the John Lasseter thing is just entirely stupid, especially with how Luck turned out. Now, if you excuse me, I need to hop off for a sec. I'm still distracted by that little discovery in the last story. Oh my god. Like, are we still in Simp Town here, folks? All right, anyways, I think we can agree that the pandemic was not really kind to Pixar ever since we entered the 2020 decade, and why we are having a discussion of the so-called what's ruining Pixar right now. Yes, Lightyear and even Elemental didn't do good at the box office, but they are not in ruin right now, as audiences are slow to return to their films. Plus, their quality of films hasn't changed thanks to films like Soul. Therefore, Pixar is still the same as we know, despite the ups and downs with their sequels. Exactly. Again, if you take a step back and actually see the big picture with what's been happening with Pixar, especially even before the pandemic and stuff like that, then really Pixar is doing fine. There's not a whole lot that has really changed. Yes, the pandemic did affect Pixar financially when it comes to the box office results, but that doesn't mean that Pixar is in critical danger or anything like that. So really, it's just exaggeration coming from the Disney haters. And especially, it is worth noting how, like, nowadays, like, the Disney hate has really become popular, especially amongst the Republican crowd, where they would keep labeling Disney as, like, woke and stuff like that, and keep spreading that lie of go woke, go broke, or whatever. So in that regard, like, a lot of it is just trying to push an agenda or trying to push a narrative that isn't actually there. It's either like completely fabricated or just really twisting the truth to make it more exaggerated than what it actually seems. Let's see what else we have. This article really made me boil my blood out of anger, and also my own anger went up to 11 after reading it inside out style. Why is this insider writer defending a problematic person and attacking Pete Docter? Pete Docter is the reason why Pixar is getting back into making original films right now. He's listening to newcomers and encouraging many people, including myself, to keep doing our best. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. F Insider. Yeah, exactly. It's just... Yeah, it honestly feels so dumb that they want to go and really push that narrative like, oh, this person is kind, he's empathetic. That's wrong. You shouldn't do that. You need to be mean. You need to be tough. You need to be attacking your people. Like, it's honestly, like, I feel like this person really got the wrong message when he read about that Vulture article regarding the making of Spider-Verse and how Phil Lord and Chris Miller were absolutely toxic to their employees. And that person, for some reason, got the mindset of, oh, in order to make good movies, you have to torture animators. Like, really got that wrong message right there. Let's see. I'll read one more comment before we go and move on to the next story and have another break. While I will admit Pixar did suffer because of the pandemic, Pixar is far from being doomed. They still managed to find major success with Disney Plus, and they are still making quality animated films. And they are especially doing so much better without John Lasseter, so overall, Pixar is absolutely stable. Also, right now, I still find it hilarious that Elemental is doing better than The Flash right now, and that is an accomplishment and so satisfying. Oh yeah, honestly, I cannot wait for the day that Elemental makes more money worldwide at the box office than The Flash. That's definitely going to be something I want to go and cover on this podcast. It could be possible it'll happen next week after the weekend, but we will see on that. All right, so now we're going to go on to an actual break, and when we do return, we're going to go and watch another trailer. And this time around, we're going to look into a series that is actually going to be coming from the creators of King of the Hill, or at least they will be producing this one. And will it have promise? Well, that's what we're going to go and find out. And we are back. Now, I know there was a lot to go and discuss with that Pixar story, but now let's go and have a little bit of a break with another trailer. And this time around, we actually got a trailer to which the creators of King of the Hill, Mike Judge and Greg Daniels, are the producers for. And they're going to be back working together on an all-new adult animated series. But this time around, is this actually going to be something that will be a massive hit? Will this have a massive cult following as much as some of their other works? Well, in that regard, I'm not 100% sure, but then again, I will say that worst case scenario, if it doesn't have a cult following, at least it does have a cult within the show. So with that said, let's go ahead and check out our next trailer, as we are going to look into the upcoming Hulu and Freeform series, Praise Petey.
It's morning again. The sun is shining. The goats are screaming.
And that is Praise Petey, to which it will be coming soon on Hulu starting July 21st. And not only is this produced by Mike Judge and Greg Daniels, but on top of that, it is mainly created by head SNL writer Anna Drezen. And honestly, after experiencing all that, I just gotta say that it's that. You know, I'm just gonna say right now, I don't hate it. I'm not gonna say that this looks absolutely terrible, but there's nothing really here that's convincing me that it is a great series. Like, honestly, this really does feel like the kind that, yeah, if you told me that this is coming from a Saturday Night Live writer, it shows. Yeah, it really shows like the kind that like really is trying to be funny, but for the most part, not really. And not to mention, like, even the concept, it's not all that appealing. The fact that it's the story of this girl who inherited from her father this like little town in which he runs this insane cult, and then like you basically see this parody of like what was it again? Not Melancholy or Magnolia or something like that. That A24 movie, like, you know the one I'm talking about. Probably someone in the comments is going to correct me on that. But yeah, Midsummer. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, like basically making this parody of Midsummer. But there's just so much of it that it just, I don't know. It feels like the comedy feels old. Like the main selling point of this is that it's the comedy. And already I feel like the comedy kind of feels old. In fact, like they already start off with the screaming goat meme. Like, of course, like honestly, I thought like we've already moved past the screaming goat. I thought like that's a thing that we decided we're gonna go and keep in like in the pre-pandemic age, you know? And like a lot of the jokes, I mean, there are a few moments that I will say they are kind of cute, you know, like some that are like chuckle worthy, but there's nothing that really tells me that this is absolutely hilarious. And I don't know, like I just feel, especially with this whole premise of like, you know, this New York girl who suddenly has this cult that she'll try her best to turn it into this normal town. It's just I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a concept where like whatever comedic ideas that they want to go and have, it's trying too hard. Now, granted, there are some things that I will say that are positive. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the designs are not necessarily bad. Like, I think the designs are, you know, like, the designs are okay. You know, the characters do look nice, but then again, the animation itself, like, it looks pastely made. You know, it looks like the kind of animation where it needs to be done quick. You know, it's the kind of, like, digital animation that, you know, they gotta really speed it up. It's like heavily dependent on using digital 2D animation. I almost wanted to say Flash, but then again, nowadays Flash is no longer a thing. But yeah, like honestly, like even though it has good designs, I cannot necessarily say the same about the animation itself. And also, I gotta admit, there is one scene that did catch my attention, and funny enough, it's apparently the most like you'll see here, apparently it's the most replayed moment, and hilariously so. It's the one where you got the main character Petey and like the John Cho's character like suddenly getting sexy while they're like working on construction and stuff, like this part.
I was excited to get to work. Do you need this hammer?
Yeah, just put it between my pecs.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I saw that scene, and there was literally a part of myself thinking, oh, well, crap, where the fridge is a hammer? I gotta try this myself. Like, hold on a sec, wait. I don't think I have a hammer here, but, like, I do have a screwdriver. Like, let me see, wait, can I do this with it? Wait, let me see if I can, like, do that with a screwdriver. Like, hold on a sec. Like, do I have, no, fudge nabbit, no. Fucking crap. Maybe it's just the t-shirt that, okay, no. I don't think I could do that. I don't know if anybody could do that, but yeah, you know, it's one of those things that's like, it's like, honestly, like, if they could do, like, if you gotta see that, like, if you could have this happen, like, I want to, it's like, oh, can I do that? I want to do that. I want to do that when constructing with a girl. It's just, I don't know, like, hey, I've been trying to work out my chest, but, I don't know. I don't think I'm at that level in which I can hold a hammer with my pecs, unfortunately. But yeah, other than that though, but here's the thing though, there is one little catch that I will say in regards to this series. It's that honestly, when watching this trailer, I feel like they may be focusing on the wrong things. Because there are a few little moments that I could see that, okay, maybe there may be something going on, because it does lean a bit to the supernatural. And that is especially the case with the, where was it? It's like with the opening right over here. Yeah, like when you see this part. Like, you see these little moments, like you got this, you know, this psychedelic scene that is going on. Or you see, like, hold on, like, if we go back a bit, well, there's, like, an eating contest. Like, yeah, like, suddenly one of the characters, like, being some kind of snake monster. Or, like, you even got it, speaking of snake monster, like, you even got this going on. Like, you know, there are some fascinating things that go into the surrealism that isn't just about the cult. And in that regard, I feel like, okay, maybe this show may have some promise. And I get it, honestly. Like, I understand that it wants to hide the biggest surprises. Like, the best moments, they don't want to immediately go and reveal. I get that. But then again, I feel like it's also hiding the most interesting parts. Because I will say, like, the characters alone, they're not necessarily enough to go and immediately grab my attention to go and, like, really watch the show. Like, I mean, granted, I can imagine how this can inspire certain types of fan art, and that maybe some NSFW artists might have an interest on Petey, but other than that, though, I feel like with the core aspects that they are presenting, especially with the cult element, I don't know, I just feel like it's just not really enough, and that I feel like there's a lot more to the show, but they just don't want to go and present it. So honestly, I feel like from what I've been seeing, Praise Petey does feel lackluster, but I'm blaming more the trailer itself than I want to with the actual show or with the actual idea. I'll be open to the possibility that there may be that chance that Praise Petey might turn out to be a pretty awesome show, that it might actually turn out to be a hit, and that it's actually really funny, that it's enjoyable, and that you'll have these wild moments like what you see right over here. But other than that, though, I'm honestly, from what I've seen in this trailer, I'm just not really that convinced. And again, like with how I feel with the Ladybug and Cat Noir trailer, it's not that I'm seeing things that are really terrible. It's just that I'm not seeing, it's not that, yeah, like I said, like, it's not that this, what I'm seeing is terrible. It's just that I'm seeing nothing that's actually memorable. There's nothing that's really selling me on why I should watch this show or that this would have great potential. I mean, yeah, sure, like, maybe you can have a bit of sexy moments with Petey, but other than that, yeah, you would have this, but I mean, I'll probably have some clips that will be shared around on social media by some simps, So overall, I just feel like this is a very lackluster trailer. I'm not going to go and say that Praise Petey is bad just yet, because there could be that chance that it is good. But from what I'm seeing here, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I'm not sold on the idea. I'm not convinced yet. All right, so with that said, I would like to go to the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, how do you feel about what we have seen with this trailer of Praise Petey? Are you more convinced that you want to watch this show? Are you a lot more hesitant than I am? Let me know what you think on that. All right, let's see what we got here. In the year of our Lord 2023, the screaming goat meme is still alive and well. I find a show mocking cult mentality needed in our modern day. While I'm not hyped for this show, it might turn out to be surprisingly good. Though that maybe be me still trying to find something to fill the inside-out shaped hole in my heart. However, it turns out, though, I love the fact that Disney now owns a show about a blood sacrifice death cult. I mean, technically it is true. I mean, I know that Disney may be planning to sell Hulu. There are those rumors, but still, though, like, considering that I don't have Hulu, there is a chance that I may be seeing this on Disney Plus, that I could go on Disney Plus and I can have the option to go and watch Encanto, or maybe I could watch Toy Story, or I could watch this. You know, I can have that option. Okay, let's see what we got here. I love the works of Mike Judge, but with this series, it's watchable. The jokes are pretty hit and miss, mostly miss, and the animation is pretty limited, but Annie Murphy's doing an okay job, and the last time an SNL writer helmed a show was Schmigadoon? Yeah, Schmigadoon. And I love that show, so maybe there is a dollop of hope. Though maybe not as much, since Schmigadoon can make songs about corn pudding and eating chicken really catchy. Although I refuse to comment on the hammer scene. I refuse to be bonked again. Well, I mean, like, it is with... I mean, like... This scene right here, the only thing I could say is that there is bonking going on. I mean, a hammer is involved, so there is some bonks. All right, let's see. I did not find the trailer good, and even the premise isn't all that interesting either, as I feel like Midsummer, but with less horror and more of the comedy and less funny. I mean, I do get the intentions, but it looks very bad. If I hadn't known that this was made by Mike Judge for this series, or that it was produced by him, then I would have considered this a disappointment. Seriously though, the screaming goat meme must die. It wasn't funny when Marvel did it in Thor: Love and Thunder, and it's not funny in this series either. Yeah, honestly, it's at the point where they really want to try to make fetch happen with the goats. Like, somehow, like, I want to know, like, are there people still on this earth that still finds the screaming goat meme funny? Oh, that's a true mystery right there. Let's see now. Looks nice. Voice acting is fine-ish, but that's pretty much all that this series has to offer. The only recent animated series that really made me laugh was Alphas and Betas with Vanos Gaming, I Am Wildcat, Basically I Do Work, and The Gaming Terrorizer back a few years ago. The humor and jokes inside it, alongside the crazy animation and plot points, all of it was perfect. Just pure LSD bliss for the brains and bronze. Yeah, honestly, it's great to see that I am not the only one feeling this way. Like, honestly, when I first watched this trailer, I just felt like, like, I knew there was something about it that isn't necessarily all that appealing to me. You know, that isn't necessarily convincing me that this is going to be a good show. But admittedly, it was hard to really it was hard to pinpoint what was wrong with it. You know, it was honestly hard to find out. It's like, what is it that I don't really like? But I am glad that I'm not the only one feeling that way. Again, not saying that this is a horrible show, but it's just, you know. Let's see. I wasn't expecting that much, but honestly, this was actually pretty fun. The idea of this girl trying to normalize an insane cult with a few supernatural elements on the side does seem like to have good potential, with my favorite joke being people going insane after Petey told them to not sacrifice people anymore. Also, I'm not shocked that the part with the hammer is the most viewed part. Now, excuse me, the bonkering shall soon commence. Oh, I do see. Yes, I mean, again, bonks will happen no matter what, even more than just with these two. Let's see. Ooh, I actually like this, especially with the character designs and the humor, especially if it is repeated. And yes, it is adult. It is for adults, so it does have mature themes. But other than that, I would watch this when it comes out on Hulu, even if it's going to be mediocre. By the way, Annie Murphy, who played Chelsea from Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, is in this show. It's weird, but okay. Actually, I think I do believe Annie Murphy is actually going to be playing the main character here. I don't know if it says like who the cast specifically is here on the description of the YouTube video, but yeah, I do believe that Annie Murphy is actually going to be Petey, so at least she'll have her own show. All right, I'm going to go and read one more comment. Let's see. Okay, I'll go over here. This trailer didn't really impress me, which I do think the ideas are interesting. It just doesn't look appealing. The comedy does feel weak and the characters don't really seem interesting. So overall, I'll give this a pass, although I'm expecting a lot of people to go to Horty jail because of Petey. So yeah, I guess, I think it's safe to say this scene right here is a hit, but maybe not necessarily the trailer. I am surprised to see that there are some people who are interested in checking it out, so maybe there is some appeal to the show that I have yet to see yet, and I am open to the idea that maybe this show could turn out to be much better than what the trailer is presenting, but honestly, I'm just not all that convinced yet. So, either way though, if you are interested in checking out Praise Petey, then keep in mind it will be coming out on Hulu on July 21st. And now we're going to go on to our next break, and when we do return, we are going to go and discuss about one company whom, oh boy, when we hear news about this one, we know it's always going to be a wild story. So tune in after the break when we will talk about the wild continuous saga of Warner Brothers Discovery. And we are back. And once again, we are going to go into another story to which we will be discussing about Warner Brothers Discovery. And yes, it is once again another moment where we might as well give it we might as well go and give it its own theme song. Now, seriously, like, anytime someone says, all right, let's talk about what's been happening with Warner Brothers Discovery, that little tune right there needs to be played. And that is especially the case with what has been going on at Warner Brothers Discovery, because there has been a little bit of a drama that's been going on, specifically in relation to what is possibly, or you know what, not even possibly, I think it's a guaranteed, the most hated CEO in entertainment, David Zaslav. And so far, it looks like his image has really gone from bad to worse, especially with one little piece of controversy that is related to GQ. Now, what has happened was that there was an article on GQ in which they would go and criticize David Zaslav, to which they would go and describe all the problems with what's been happening under David Zaslav's leadership, and even the article itself would go and actually compare Zaslav to Logan Roy. And for those of you who don't know, Logan Roy is the main character, or some could say the main villain, of the hit HBO series Succession, where he is basically the fictionalized version of Rupert Murdoch. In fact, a lot of the life of the Murdoch family has actually been adapted to Succession, and Logan Roy is the representation of Rupert Murdoch. But anyways, as I was talking about right over here, yeah, on GQ, they released an article in which they really went nasty in terms of presenting David Zaslav and how he has become a serious detriment for Warner Brothers Discovery. But then suddenly, not long after the article was published, it was then heavily re-edited to make sure that they would have a bit of a nicer approach to David Zaslav, you know, be a bit more kinder. Maybe they went and slammed a little bit too hard. But then after that, they just decided to completely remove the entire article. Somehow, the article was completely gone. But why is that? How is it that an article that was slamming David Zaslav, somehow it just disappeared? What the fridge happened to that article right there? Now, there have been some word that apparently Warner Brothers Discovery did send out some complaints to GQ and to their editors-in-chiefs, to which they would go and take action. But a lot of people are saying that one person really to blame here is not necessarily David Zaslav, but rather the editor-in-chief at GQ, Will Welch. Because the thing with Will is that not only is he working as an editor-in-chief, but he is also working as a producer for a Warner Brothers movie. Yes, right now, Will Welch is producing a feature film at Warner Brothers called The Great Chinese Art Heist. And from there, you could tell that there already is a massive connection between Warner Brothers and with GQ, especially with that guy working in charge. And yes, he was actually the one who actually made the decision to go and both heavily edit the article and then to just completely remove it entirely. Now, we do have a couple of comments in terms of what happened and what is their reasoning to do so. One of which coming from GQ, to which it states here, reading from my source on Variety, it says, a piece published by GQ on Monday was not properly edited before going live. After a revision was published, the writer of the piece asked to have their byline removed, at which point GQ decided to unpublish the piece in question. GQ regrets the editorial error that led to a story being published before it was ready. But then you have a comment from Warner Brothers Discovery, to which they somehow have a different tale to say, to which it says here, the freelance reporter made no attempt to reach out to Warner Brothers Discovery to fact-check the substance of the piece before publishing, a standard practice for any reputable news outlet. As it is also standard practice, we contacted the outlet and asked that numerous inaccuracies be corrected. In the process of doing so, the editors ultimately decided to pull the piece. So that's the explanation that we have been gathering, that apparently there might have been a few little errors that they wanted to go and fix, but then they decided, okay, let's just remove it. But then you got Warner Brothers Discovery, who sent in their complaints, and apparently the decision was not for them to do in order to remove entirely. So that is the mess that we have received right now. Oh, and by the way, I almost forgot one thing. Now, even though GQ completely pulled out that article, that doesn't necessarily mean that the article itself is gone forever. In fact, you could just do a simple Google search and you write down archive Warner Brothers article. Like you just write down that and you'll probably find it somewhere. Actually, no, you might have to go a little bit... you have to go into a bit of detail. So David Zaslav. So maybe if you add that, yeah, there we go. Like just that kind of search and boom, you would already go and find it. And the article in question was called How Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav Became Public Enemy #1 in Hollywood, written by Jason Bailey. So you could go and read the article here. It's already archived. So there you go. So technically, it is still there, but it is no longer officially on GQ's website. But I just gotta say, with this entire mess, regardless of who it may be, regardless of who may be the cause of all this, like, I just feel like this entire situation has been so poorly handled. Like, this really was a disaster for everyone. Because I'm just gonna say now, no matter what was said in that article, it is nothing compared to the fact that Warner Brothers Discovery might have played a role in taking down an article that slams its CEO. Like, you could be absolutely nasty in that article, and you could say that David Zaslav is worse than Hitler or some exaggerated thing like that. But the fact alone that you would go and take out that article is an even worse image for David Zaslav. Like, even though he may be indirectly involved with it, still though, that just feels like it gives out a very negative image of David Zaslav that makes him look even worse, where he just cannot handle criticism. That after sending out the complaints and then suddenly, whoop, the article just vanished. Yeah, a lot of people are just going to be very suspicious of that, and they will indeed immediately put the blame on David Zaslav, where now they're going to portray him as a sensitive and thin-skinned dictator, that they're going to view him no differently than people like Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin or any of those far-right American Republicans like Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis. Like someone who cannot handle criticism and will do everything they can in order to go and take down that article. I know that is not necessarily the case, but the image certainly seems that way. So already, like, this entire controversy has made David Zaslav look worse. But technically, if there really is someone that you have to go and blame on this, it looks like it is most likely Will Welch, the guy who is simultaneously the editor-in-chief and the producer of one of Warner Brothers' movies. Like, that right there is a move that he should have never done. Like, this is honestly not just a bad move, but this could legitimately be a career-killing move. Like, this is going to be the one thing that Will Welch is going to be more well known for. That this is really going to be the one thing that people are going to immediately recognize him. The guy who had to go and take down the article that speaks against David Zaslav after receiving complaints from Warner Brothers Discovery. And especially with his connection with the Warner Brothers movie, with his connection with Warner Brothers in general, some people could say that it is legitimately a conflict of interest, that he's just doing it in order to save himself, that he's just doing it in order to protect his job at Warner Brothers. And even this article on Variety even calls him out on that, or that like even states that if that would be the case. To which it says over here, Welch's involvement in the decision-making process would constitute a conflict of interest. As a producer on a Warner Brothers movie in early development, Welch would meet the criteria from the Society of Professional Journalistic Code of Ethics that says reporters and editors should avoid conflict of interest, real or perceived, and disclose unavoidable conflicts. Furthermore, journalistic best practices dictate that stories never just disappear and that any significant corrections be noted with full transparency. A Warner Brothers Discovery source says no one at the corporate level was aware of Welch's ties to the movie studio. So already in that regard, there is that sense of foul play that is going on. Like, there is already that move. Like, regardless if Warner Brothers knew or not about Welch's position at Warner Brothers or at GQ or whatever, the fact that he pulled this off, again, would honestly feel like it could legitimately be a career ender, or definitely something that is like a reputation killer right there, that he would rather suck up to big corporations like Warner Brothers Discovery and suck up to like CEOs like David Zaslav instead of keeping his reputation as a journalist, instead of making sure that he is still reputable and that he can still be a credible source, or that he is still good for GQ. Like, no matter what, this is the worst action that you can take. Like, even if the article itself would be absolutely insane in terms of how they would go and portray David Zaslav, you cannot just go and completely take it down, especially when there are people who would say that it is absolutely unconstitutional, that technically this does take away freedom of speech, especially when you got a journalist who is criticizing a person of power. And even though David Zaslav is not in a position that is related to the government, he is in a position where he does have power. He runs a mega corporation, and that can have some significant influence in our society. So yeah, in that regard, like, technically Will Welch didn't do anything legal because, it's not like the article was going after a politician or a government official. But still, though, the morality of this is absolutely wrong. So honestly, overall with this situation, I feel like this is a case where everybody loses. This is a matter to which nobody came out as a winner, and everybody came out in a position that they were much worse than they were before. Like, you got the art, you know, the person who wrote the article, you know, they lost their, you know, I'm not saying they're fired. They didn't lose their job, of course, but they lost their piece that they have worked on that discusses about a significant problem in Warner Brothers. I'm sure it is never fun for any journalist to see their article to suddenly just no longer be on the platform. There was Will Welch, the editor-in-chief. He lost on this because now his reputation is long gone now. Like, this, you know, this is pretty much his legacy. The fact that he succumbed to the demands of corporations instead of journalistic integrity. So his reputation is now the fact that he is a sellout. You got Warner Brothers Discovery, who lost on this because, and not just Warner Brothers Discovery, but also GQ, who lost on this, where now they are like, where now it shows that Warner Brothers Discovery doesn't seem like they like to hear criticism about them, and that they would go as far as to go and make complaints that would ultimately make articles suddenly just disappear. And even GQ lost in this because now they are a website where they would rather obey the demands of corporations instead of actually reporting what is going on, instead of reporting the news, instead of helping out journalists speak out their voices and stuff. So already GQ took the L on that. And again, this is a massive loss for David Zaslav. The fact that his company took action to go against, you know, to go after an article, like, that's already bad enough. Like, the fact that he, you know, his company technically took down an article that said bad about him, that's even giving him an even worse image than before. And I can tell you right now, not many people are happy with David Zaslav, especially after all this happened. So overall, this is just a mess, and everything right over here feels like it's been poorly handled. So now with that said, I would like to go onto the chat wall, and I would like to ask you, how do you feel about this entire controversy that's been going on over here? I would love to know your thoughts on that now. Let's see what we got. So David Zaslav is a hated CEO. What else is new? The fact that Will Welch would take down an article explaining how hated David Zaslav is and trying to defend him is just insulting. And honestly, I'm at the point where I'm not even stunned at what Warner Brothers Discovery does. Seriously, that Zaslav is such a hated CEO. He's making Bob Chapek and the damage he did to Disney look tame in comparison. Oh yeah, you got that right. Let's see. If there is one CEO who could be a better comparison to Zaslav than Logan Roy, Elon Musk. Think about it. Bad decision after bad decision, clearly having no idea how to run a business, highly insecure about people calling him out. You see where I'm going with this. I more blame Welch for this ordeal, but come on. There has to be some tampering here. This will go down as an event that was a post killer, a career killer, and in some response, a stream killer. Oh, and in some respect, a stream killer. I see what you're going in there, dude. But no, you do bring up a very good point. That definitely is true. I feel like with the case, I feel like with this entire case, there's a very good chance that someone here is going to be losing their job. Rather it be the person who wrote the article or the editor-in-chief or maybe David Zaslav, who knows? But chances are there's someone in here who's not going to be maintaining their job after this entire fiasco. I'm just saying. Let's see what we got. If I may suggest a proper theme song, we could take a page from Zero Punctuation. Let's all laugh at old David Z, who's destroying everything. But yeah, just when I thought the dumpster fire that WBD couldn't get worse, Zaslav finds another way to be a detriment to the company. The man makes Bob Chapek look competent. Why he hasn't been kicked out, in a vote of no confidence baffles me. Oh, I'm sure it'll happen soon, and especially after the results of what happened with The Flash, I'm sure there are some considerations that are growing to kick him out. Let's see what else is there. We'll go with this one. This kind of reminds me of the time C.H. Greenblatt once made a gigantic rant on Tumblr against Nickelodeon for having the last few episodes of his show Harvey Beaks moved from Nickelodeon to Nicktoons. Later, his rant was deleted, and some say he either was forced to apologize to Nick and delete by request, or maybe he did have some second thoughts about it. For something like that, I can understand, but for this one, we're talking about a journalist which used to be a risk taker, but now is a coward. Yeah, I know what you mean there. What else is there? Why would a journalist who made an article against the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery suddenly work with WB for an upcoming movie? That seems like a hypocritical move to do, and something like this that ends up having an article taken down. WBD is not safe from this, and the way that they have the article taken down shows that Zaslav and his team can't handle criticism. Another lucky day for them, am I right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, it's hard to really pinpoint who really is at fault here. It's hard to say if there is one person in particular to say that they are the ones responsible for all of this, but either way, like I said, it's making everyone look bad. I think I'll just go and read one more comment before we go into the grand finale of this. How bad must you be at taking criticism that you have to tell someone else's editor to take an article? Well, you apparently have to be as horrible, or you have to be a horrific CEO like David Zaslav. But honestly, I'm getting less and less shocked over how hard Warner Brothers Discovery is dragging their reputation to the ground and how everyone ends up losing in this situation. If there's a good theme song for David Zaslav right now, it would be another FU song from Real Big Fish. Well, what do you know? That could be it too. All right, now we are going to go on to one more story, and we are going to cap this off with a trailer, and this may not necessarily be animation related, but I will say it is a very fascinating movie, and one that I will admit is a last-minute addition, because chances are this is going to be one movie we will be talking a lot during awards season, so stay tuned for that. All right, folks. It is now time that we will go and cap this show off with the grand finale. And yes, I do have one more trailer that I would like to go and present to you. Now, originally, I was thinking about ending the show off with the David Zaslav story. I thought this would be a short episode with 4 stories, and then we could go and call it a day. I was thinking that, but then suddenly, today, as I am recording this, there was one news that did capture my attention. One that I feel like we are going to be hearing about this quite often in the beginning of 2024, despite the fact that technically this movie will be coming out at the end of 2023. So with that said, we are going to go and cap this off by checking out the trailer for the highly anticipated all-star feature, Napoleon! And that is Napoleon, featuring Academy Award winner Joaquin Phoenix and directed by Ridley Scott, to which the movie will be released in theaters during American Thanksgiving. So I think it's going to be November 22nd, I'm guessing. Now, the reason why I am highlighting this movie, or the reason why I'm discussing about this trailer in particular, is mainly because of the fact that when I look at this, I feel like, yeah, this is the kind that really wants to be Oscar bait. Like, there's just so much about it that, like, it just has like this massive aroma that the main purpose of this is to collect trophies, is to be that movie that you're going to hear again and again and again during like the Golden Globes, the Critics' Choice, the Oscars, and many more, to go and collect trophies. That seems to be the big mission that it wants to get into, especially with not only the fact that we have a period piece and that we got these acclaimed filmmakers and we got these acclaimed actors that are involved like Joaquin Phoenix and Ridley Scott, but also just the massive grand scale, just like how they're presenting everything as just so huge, including like all the battles that are going on, like to really highlight the grand scale and the big battle that is happening. Like to really emphasize like how Napoleon's conquest is like, it's huge, you know, like it's big, you know, saying that it's bigger than France itself. In fact, we even see Napoleon traveling to other places, like even taking a quick little visit to Egypt. But yeah, like you see how this really wants to present itself as like this big epic period piece, along with other aspects of Napoleon's life, especially with his romantic affairs with Josephine. Like really looking like not only seeing him as a fighter, but also seeing him as a lover, like really highlighting those aspects. And not to mention the fact, really capitalizing on the fact that you got Joaquin Phoenix over here. And I mean, I think it is safe to say that Joaquin Phoenix is like a very well-established actor, especially after what we have seen with that performance that he did with the Joker. I'm not a fan of the movie. I think the writing and the directing is an absolute disaster, but I think we can all agree that Joaquin Phoenix makes an absolutely fantastic Joker. And we see like they want to go and really highlight how he is as Napoleon, but there is one thing that I will say that is a bit iffy. And it's just the fact that I feel like they're really playing around with his accents. Like, honestly, I don't know, like, you don't necessarily hear a lot of Joaquin Phoenix, but there are times when sometimes I don't know what accent he's going with, because it's obvious everybody wants to go and speak, they want to speak with a British accent, despite the fact that it's set in France, but anyways, I could look past that. But it feels like sometimes Joaquin Phoenix wants to have an accent, and there are times when he doesn't. Like, there's this one part here.
I promise you brilliant successes.
Like, does he not do an accent? It sounds like he wants to remain, like, with an English accent. Or no, like, he speaks, like, with an American accent. Then there's, like, some other parts. It's hard to go and find, like, if there are actual moments, like, where he does legitimately speak.
What is this costume you have on?
This is my uniform.
Like, there is also times when, like, maybe he sounds a little like he's trying to do a bit of a French accent, while everyone coming in with a British accent, everyone coming in with a British accent. Oh, this is a period piece. We must be proper. We must be British, despite the fact that we're in bloody France. But is there like other moments as well? Like, yeah, like even like when he comes in with all the guns, like.
Shall we vote?
Shall we vote? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. It's just all these stairs, man. I mean, hey, I get this is a castle, but you don't have to rule that high, man. I mean, you must have some epic legs, dude. But yeah, like, honestly, I feel like everybody's playing the British game, but there's something about his accent in particular is a little bit off, or he's doing something a little bit different. And I mean, considering that we are talking about Ridley Scott, whom I believe he recently did House of Gucci, and I mean, that is another topic that we could discuss, where the accents are like ridiculously all over the place, or they could be they could be unintentionally hilarious. So maybe Ridley Scott is not necessarily the guy who would be the best to go and handle a piece where it would require accents. But honestly, other than that though, I can see the potential where things can go right. But also I could see where things can really fall apart. You know, it's not necessarily something that I can imagine that it's going to be like straight in the middle. It's either going to be something that's absolutely going to be amazing, where people are going to go and call this movie of the year. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if there are people who are going to watch this and say that this could come out as a bit of a disaster, that is trying too hard to really be so full of itself and to be so much of an Oscar bait that it ultimately kind of collapses in its own self-righteousness, and it would turn out to be a disaster. Like, it's either gonna turn out to be like, it could either turn out to be like one of Ridley Scott's masterpieces, like Blade Runner, or it could turn out to be another House of Gucci. It could honestly go either way. But still, though, I feel, honestly, I look at this and I see the potential. Like, honestly, I can imagine this could turn out well. And I'm not gonna lie, this trailer here of Napoleon, very convincing. I feel, honestly, if the word of mouth is great, if this could turn out to be the movie of the year, I could see this as something that, yeah, it's going to be not only a big Oscar winner, but even a massive box office hit. I mean, especially like when you have Joaquin Phoenix playing a well-known historical figure like Napoleon. Like, regardless of the historical accuracies in there, I'm sure that's going to be another different topic altogether. But if they play their cards right, this could be one of the biggest hits of the year. Like, maybe even something that could reach the $1 billion mark at the box office. But keep in mind, if you all want to be interested in checking out this Napoleon movie, then remember that this film will be coming out during American Thanksgiving around November 22nd or 23rd or somewhere in that area. You could correct me if I'm wrong on that. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what did you think about this trailer of Napoleon? Are you interested in checking it out? Do you think this will have some potential? Or do you think Ridley Scott made another House of Gucci? Let me know what you think on this. Oh, and some people are correcting me that, oh, no, they're confirming that, yes, it will be November 22nd. All right, good to know. Anyways, okay, let's see here. This new Napoleon movie is definitely an Oscar bait movie by a well-known director and actor, but there's one big problem. It's coming out at the same time as Wish. That is a very good point. And I mean, that could turn out to be a major obstacle. And I feel like it's going to be either or. Like, there's going to be at least one movie that's going to come out as like a global phenomenon and what people will consider a masterpiece. It could either be Wish or it could either be Napoleon, but it's going to be a very interesting box office battle there. I can tell you that. Or even like in terms of like what the critics may think, that too. Let's see here. Honestly, I could barely see this trailer because the connection issues. Not my kind of movie for my sister and I for movie night. I'll watch it by myself, but the major Thanksgiving movie for me is Wish and Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. All right, that is fair enough. Honestly, sorry if there were any connection issues on my end. I mean, that's not something that I could really go and control. Let's see. Whoa, I have never seen such a historic movie like that. I like where this is going. With all the war that we saw in this trailer, I think it's going to be a historic, action-packed drama movie. I don't even know if it will win awards, but I do hope so. I mean, maybe. And I'm just going to say, like, honestly, in terms of the release date, the fact that it is coming out during American Thanksgiving, I feel like that's something that's more strategic for award season, more so than it really is like to compete against Wish or whatever, because it's usually around the end of the year, like around the end of November and December. That's when studios would go all out and they would release a whole bunch of films that are meant to be like award grabbers and stuff like that. So I think like Sony is thinking more about releasing this movie for the sake of getting the notoriety at the Oscars and stuff like that, more so than it is competing against the other films like Wish and stuff like that. Let's see. I am definitely taking my friends to see this movie on Thanksgiving, especially when it mentions it doing an IMAX showing. This movie might be awesome since Ridley Scott did make some great epic films like Gladiator and recently The Last Duel with Joaquin Phoenix reuniting him after Gladiator, or could be underwhelming, but who knows. Sony and Apple are betting hard on this as an award season contender, but I hope it looks awesome when it comes out. I mean, you never know, man. There is that strong possibility. Let's see. I gotta say, this trailer really looks impressive. Visually, it looks impressive. Joaquin Phoenix seems to be giving a very solid performance, and I definitely see this as an Oscar contender if it works. Also, November this year is going to be packed in terms of big movies, so we'll see what happens. I mean, then again, there is a possibility that we could see some delays, that there could be some features that may end up moving their release dates so that it won't end up being too cluttered, kind of like what we have seen with June, because a lot of people are saying right now that the big reason why we are seeing so many box office flops is because so many summer blockbusters are released all together. So there may be a chance, even with Napoleon, they'll just delay it by a month and they'll release it around Christmas time. Honestly, I feel like that would actually make sense. I feel like it would be more logical, like especially if they want this to be like a major awards contender, they should release this on Christmas instead of American Thanksgiving. That way, it will be much closer to award season and it will be more relevant for that time. I don't know, but then again, it may be just me. Let's see now. Yeah, this sure smells like Oscar bait, though I can't really say anything about the trailer since I got some connection issues as well. Though, while I was checking on Twitter, it seems that sadly, Randy Fulmer, the producer of Emperor's New Groove and Chicken Little, has passed away. Oh, man, that is very unfortunate. Yo, pay my respects to Randy Fulmer, man. Man, I'm sorry to hear about that. All right, I think I'll read one more comment before we go. So I think I'll go with with the fridge. I'll go with this one. I'm quite familiar with the story of Napoleon Bonaparte thanks to some kids media like The Legends of the Hidden Temple and Pinky and the Brain, although I didn't know about the full story. I might want to show this to my parents once I get my hands on Apple TV+. Also, I didn't know Napoleon's name is meant to be pronounced differently in France. Did we pronounce it wrong the whole time? Well, I mean, like, you know, when you say, like, Napoleon is the way you say it in French. You know, that doesn't mean that, oh, if you say Napoleon, it's wrong. I mean, that's just the standard English way of saying it. Also, there is one more comment I almost forgot to mention, is that I don't know if releasing it is a great time or a really bad time, considering the modern things that are happening in France right now. Considering that in France, there's like another revolution that's going on where the people are fighting against the police and the government. So I don't know if it's like perfect timing to go and release it, or it's like awkwardly bad timing, or who the fridge knows. I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of a coincidence with what is happening in France right now. And then we're seeing like a movie that is related to the French Revolution, like Napoleon. But anyways, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Thank you all so much for joining me on this. And also, I would like to go and note that if you all would like to go and follow me on whatever social media service that, or if you'd like to go and follow more of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, then don't forget to go and subscribe to either the AniMat Live Twitch channel or the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel. And also don't forget to go and follow me on whatever podcast service you're listening to, whether it be on Spotify, Amazon, Google, iTunes, and many, many more. And with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.